So, welcome to CS Saturdays. So, I am Shrija from Coding Studio. So, today I am going to speak on very interesting and important topic. So, let's start. But before starting it, just think of this. Suppose I have given a problem statement to you and asked you to write a code for it. You all may have different approaches in your mind, right? So all of them may work and give the correct output, right? But what I do is I will only select one approach from them and I will only accept that solution because it is very optimized and it is even work in the various situation. So what is meant by this optimized algorithm and how to find it? So to find that, we use some criteria. So that is what we are going to discuss today, called complexity analysis, especially time complexity analysis. Okay, let's start. So first, in order to select the most optimized algorithm, what we do is we just calculate the complexity of all the algorithms, and the one with the less complexity is considered as the best algorithm. So suppose, for example, I want to travel from one city to another city. I have three ways. So what I will select is, I will only select the best way, which is very convenient to me and which is very easy to reach the destination, right? So, and we also have discussed many sorting algorithms in previous CS Saturdays, right? Yeah. For all the algorithms, if I give the unsorted array as the input, all of them will give the sorted array as output. All of them will work, right? But can I select the very optimized sorting algorithm from them? Yes, I can select. I will select the quick sort as a very optimized algorithm because that is very less complexity than other sorting algorithms. So now the question is how to calculate the complexity of the algorithm. So we will see that. So to calculate the complexity, what we use some measures. So that measures are time complexity and the space complexity. What is meant by the time complexity and the space complexity actually mean? Let's see. Time complexity. Time complexity is nothing but the total amount of time required by the algorithm to complete its execution. So when you write the code, you execute it, right? So at that time, the time taken by the algorithm to execute it is nothing but the time complexity. The next thing is space complexity. Space complexity is nothing but the amount of computer memory required by an algorithm to complete its execution. For example, we use many variables in our code, right? And we will initialize a value to that variables, and where this value store in where this value store actually they will store in the computer memory. So the total amount of that memory used by an algorithm is simply known as the time space complexity. So from now we are deeply going to see the time complexity because the time complexity is very important than the space complexity. So how to calculate the time complexity? Yeah. So in order to calculate anything, we use some general measures, right? So that will be applicable for any of the algorithm. So here are some general configuration that we are going to see, that we are going to consider to calculate the time complexity. So first one is, it measures sequential execution. That means while executing the program, my program will execute line by line, right? So the time complexity is also similar to this. The time is calculated for line by line, and in the end, I will add that all, and the result is the total time required by the algorithm. And the next is, it requires 1 unit of time for arithmetic and logical operations. That means if my code, if my algorithm, which consists of if my algorithm contains any arithmetic or any logical operations, that will also take 1 unit of time, and it requires 1 unit of time for assignment and return values. If I assign any value to the variable, that will also require 1 unit of time, and if I return any value from the function, that will also take 1 unit of time, and it requires 1 unit of time for read and write operations. That means if I wants to print or if I wants to take a value from the input, that will also take 1 unit of time. So this is how we calculate the time complexity. So let's see some examples to understand very clearly. Yeah. So I will write some algorithms. So we'll try to find the time complexity. So the time required by the algorithm. Okay. So let me write a function. So this is very small algorithm. So we'll try to find the total time required by this. So in this first line, I have one assignment. So this takes 1 unit of time. And here I'm going to take one input. So it is also take 1 unit of time. And in this line, I'm going to return the n value, and it will take 1 unit of time. So in total, it will take 1 plus 1 plus 1 is equals to 3 units of time. Okay. Now let me write another program, and let me write another program. Yeah, I will write a for loop here. So this is the algorithm for a linear search. So we will try to calculate the time required by this algorithm. So here it won't take any time. There is no initialization also. Here it will take 1, and here I am going to initialize the array with 8 elements. So that will take 8 units of time. And here in this for loop, so this is one assignment operation, and this is the conditional checking, and this is the increment that will come under the arithmetic operation. So here it will take 1 plus 1 plus 1 is nothing but 3, but it is in the for loop, right? So it will execute for n times. So I can write this as it will take 3 units of time. Okay. So here, so next in this statement, it is checking one condition. So it will also take 1 unit of time, but this statement is also repeating for n times. So I can take 1 into n times. Yeah. So in total, if I add them, 3n plus 1n plus 8 plus 1 is something is equals to 4n plus 9. So let me take one algorithm, like 4 into, so we'll assume that the algorithm contains, so that algorithm will require this unit of this amount of time. So I want to write the most significant value of this equation, of this expression. So what I do is, I will only take the term which is affect the more. So here n square will affect this, will here n square will affect the this expression is most. So I will take the most significant value as n square. So suppose if I take an example, suppose n is equals to, if I substitute n is equals to 10 power 5, if I substitute n is equals to 10 power 5 in this equation, I will get 4 into 10 to the power of 10 plus 5. So if I compare 10 power 10 with 5, that is really very less, right? So I can neglect 5, and if I can also neglect the constant coefficient, so I can simply take n square as the most significant term, the most significant term. So we have calculated the number of units of time which required by the algorithm. So how to represent it? So to represent this, we have some special notations. To represent this, we have some special notations that is known as the asymptotic notations. That is it is the basically it is the mathematical representation of the algorithm's complexity, and it is further classified into 3 types. So that is the big O and big omega and big theta. So we'll see one by one about them. First one is the big O notation. So we'll consider one function as f of n, which stores the time complexity of an algorithm, and g of n as the most significant term of the f of n. Suppose if this, and we want to check the condition like f of n less than equals to c into g of n. If any case, if this condition is satisfied, then that is known as big O notation. Big O notation. Let's see in example so that you can understand very clearly. So I will take this algorithm as example, this linear search algorithm as example, and I will try to find the situation in the linear search. So here f of n is taken as total time required by the algorithm, and I will take c into g of n as time required by algorithm in algorithm in a particular case. In a particular case, so we have seen f of n is the time complexity. That means f of n is the time required by the algorithm. That means if I take this algorithm as an example, so here the time required is already we have calculated, that is 4n plus 9. We'll simply write this 4n plus 9 and g of n as the most significant of the f of n. Here the most significant is, will neglect the constant and will also neglect the coefficient. So then it is n, right? And the condition we want is f of n is less than equals to c into g of n, right? So we'll try to find the situation in this algorithm which satisfies the situation. Suppose I will take my k value as something 70. So here what I'm doing is, this is the linear search algorithm. You all may know the mechanism of linear search. It will try to find the element in the given array, right? So here I am giving the element which is not present in the array. So that means it will iterate over all the elements in the array, and it will also try to find whether there is an element after the 67. That means you can notice that C into G of n, which is also known as the time required by the algorithm in the particular case, is slightly greater than f of n, right? Is slightly greater than f of n. F of n means the total time complexity. But here I am trying to find the element which is not present in the array. That means it is also checking whether there is an element after the 64, and which represents a very worst situation. Something which is not there in the array, but we are finding, means that is really a worst situation. So we can represent this case. In the particular case, when k is equals to 70, I can tell this situation, this condition is satisfied. So I can write f of n is equals to big O of G of n, right? So let me try to find the C value for this situation. I'll simply substitute the value f of n is equals to this and C into n. So for C is equals to 5, this condition is satisfied, and n will become greater than or equals to 9, right? If I see even in the graph, you can see here f of n is the total time complexity, and C to G of n is taken as the a time required in a particular case, right? So here in this case, my G of n, C to G of n is greater than f of n. That means you can clearly understand this is very worst situation, and this is also C into G of n here is also called as the lower upper bound of the f of n, and this situation is represented by big O notation, so big O notation is represented as f of n is equals to big O of G of n. I think you all understood the big O notation. If you really understood this, the next two notations are really very easy. Okay, let's move to another notation, big omega notation. That means here also f of n is as the time complexity of an algorithm and G of n as the most significant term, but the condition here is different. F of n is greater than equals to C into G of n. So let's try to see this situation in this example. Okay, I will keep my k value here as 4. Then the time required by this algorithm in the particular case when k is equals to 4 is really very less, because I can find my k value in the first element of the array, right? So I will immediately break when I find this element. I no need to iterate over total array. So you can here observe that my C into G of n is really very less than f of n. So here the condition is f of n is greater than equals to C into G of n. So if the k value is the first element of the array, this I can see this situation, right? So here if this condition is satisfied, I can write f of n as omega of G of n. Omega of G of n. Let me write omega of G of n. And let me try to find the C value here. 4n plus 9 is greater than equals to C into n. So for C is equals to 1 and n greater than equals to 1, this condition is satisfied. And this is, I can also say this situation as the very best case, because I am immediately finding mine. I'm not even iterating over the elements, right? So if you even see the graph of this, you can see here f of n is the total time, and c into g of n is really very less than really very less than f of n. So I can say this is the representation of the best case of the algorithm, and here c into g of n is the upper lower bound of the upper greatest bound of the algorithm of the f of n. Okay, let's move on to another notation, that is big theta notation. Here also f of n is equals to time complexity of the algorithm, and g of n is equals to most significant term, and the condition here is c1 g of n is less than equals to f of n less than equals to c2 into g of n. So what this actually mean is, let's see, if I keep this k value as something called 99, this is not the worst case and this is not the best case. There's something in between the worst and the best case, right? So this is known as the average case, that is which the combination of the best and the worst case that lies in between this best and the worst case. Something that lies in between the best and worst case. So if you even see in the graph, here c into g of n represents my worst case, and f of n is the total time actually, and c1 into g of n is the best case. So here in this notation, in this situation, that it is something between this two of in between this best and the worst situation. So we'll represent this situation as f of n is equals to theta of g of n. So yeah, now we'll move on to some examples. Let me say some examples. So for any algorithm, if you want to find the time complexity, if you want to find the time complexity of an algorithm, we always we'll always try to find the worst case of the bigger notation, because we'll always find the worst situation, because if my algorithm will work for the worst situation, it will definitely work for average and the base case, right? So we'll always try to find the bigger notation only. So that time complexity is generally represented in bigger notation. So if I want to find the time complexity of an algorithm, suppose if that algorithm will contains the loops and the recursion, then my time complexity will be O of n, or O of n square, or O of n factorial, or O of log n, or O of 2 power n, or even 1 sometimes, yeah, etc. etc. So otherwise my algorithm will have the time complexity of O of 1. So even if you we have this example, right, this actually won't contain any loops and the recursion. So here the total time is the 3. So for the constant time, it requires some constant time. So this is represented as 3 into n power 0. We'll always try to find our time complexity in terms of n. So here we'll neglect the constant coefficient. If I neglect the constant coefficient, I will get n power 0, that is n power 0 nothing but 1. So I can take the complexity of this algorithm as O of 1. So always remember, if any algorithm has the constant time, so that is that algorithm has the complexity of 1. So let's see some examples. So first we'll see some examples of which contains loops. Okay, I will write some a loop code. So yeah, so let's consider this and we'll try to find the time required by this for loops. So first here, when I is equals to 0, what it happen is my j will my j will my j will run for 0 to n minus 1 times. That means in total my j loop will run n times, right? So for I is equals to 1 also, my j value will now the j value will again run for 0 to n minus 1. That means it is also n times. And for j is equals to n minus 1 also, it will write it will run for so again for I is equals to n minus 1 also, my j value will run for n times. So that means this my inner for loop is running n times for this for each value, for each iteration of the outer for loop. That means this outer for loop will run exactly for n times, and this inner for loop is also running for n times. So n is added n times. That means n into n is added n times, n plus that is for n times. So that is simply n into n. That is also represented as n square. So here the complexity is O of n square, right? Yeah. Let me give another example for this. Okay. Now what I will do is I will change here j is equals to j into 2. So here we have to find the time complexity of this algorithm now. So first j is equals to 0. First, so how many times this for loop will run? We'll see. First j will be, I'll change this j as j is equals to 1 and j less than equals. We'll try to find now the time required by this algorithm. So first the j value will be 1, and next I will increment j2 into 2, 1 into 2, and the j will become 2. And next I will increment my j value to 2 into 2, that is j is equals to 4. So this will continue for some value, let me say 2 power k. So why I have taken here 2 power k? Because here I will represent 1 as 2 power 0, and 2 as 2 power 1, and 4 as 2 power 2, and it will continue for some k value, that is 2 power k value, and that should be less than equals to n, right? So if I apply log on both sides, it will be k is equals to log n. So that means my this for loop will run for k times. That means this for loop will run for log n times. So I can represent the time complexity as big O of log n. Big O of log n. Right. So now we'll see some examples regarding recursion. So to calculate the time complexity of the recursion, the total time complexity is is nothing but the number of times uh, the function is called into a time complexity of one function, right? Okay. I will let's see some examples. Okay. I will write a factorial function if n is equals to 1. Otherwise, return n into fact of n minus 1, right? Yeah. This is the factorial function. So here we'll try to find the time complexity of this function. So first I will to find the time complexity of the recursion, I will use this case. So first I will find the time complexity of one function, and I then multiply it with the number of times this particular function is called. Okay. So let's see. So in this line, I am here. I'm going to check this condition. So it will require one unit of time. So in this line, I will think here. I will just imagine this fact of n minus 1 as some constant. So to calculate for now, I will just assume this fact of n minus 1 as constant, and here is one arithmetic operation, and I am also returning this. So 1 plus 1 is 2. These will require 2 units of time. So in total, it will require 3 units of time, right? 3 units of time. So now I will find how many times this particular fact function is going to call. So, okay. Yeah. Uh, I will take I will take n value as 5. Suppose I will take n value as 5. The fact of 5 will call the fact of 4 function, right? And the 4 will call again 3, and 3 will call the fact of 2, and the fact of 2 again will call a fact of 1, and the fact of 1 will return 1. So here so in this line, my fact function is calling for one time. So that here in this line for one time, and here also for one time, here also for one time. So this is continue for up to 1. So that means for n is equals to 5, I'm going to call it as it 5 times. So for n is equals to n, I will definitely call it for n times. So I will substitute this. The number of times the function is called here is n times. If my value is n times into the fact time complexity of one function is 3. So the total is equals to 3 into n. So we'll neglect the constant coefficient. That is, so I can represent my big O notation as fact of n. So this time complexity of this function is fact of n, right? So okay. Next, I will move for one more recursion example. Now I'm going to write the Fibonacci. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. This is the recursive code for to write the Fibonacci. So I will see. I will just apply here. So in this line, I have three conditions. So this is one condition, and this is one condition, and this total is one condition, right? So total, it will take 3 units of time. And here, I will here also consider fib of n minus 1 and fib of n minus 2 as the constants. And so if I consider this as constants, then this is one arithmetic operation and this is one written operation. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So the total time required in one function. So here the time complexity of one function is it requires the total 5 units of time, right? So now I want to calculate how many times this fifth function is going to call for n as input. If we take n as input, so first I will take n n is equals to 2. N is equals to 2. If I take n is equals to 2, what will happen is so if I call n, if I take n is equals to 2, so in internally it will the call is going to be like this. So first I will be calling fib of 2 and that will call fib 1 and fib 2, right? So here how many operations, how many times this fib call is actually called is here the one time. Here is the one time and in this line actually it is 2 times. So I can represent this 1 as 2 power 0 and this 2 as 2 power 1, right? So if I add this is something like the sum of the GP series, like, right? So if I do addition, 2 power 0 plus 2 power 1, this will be the formula. I will use the formula as sum of the series, GP series. So I will get a into, here a is 2 power 0, that is 1. 1 into 2 power number of terms is 2. So 2 power 2 minus 1. This is just the GP sum of GP series formula by 2 minus 1, right? This is equals to 2 power 2 minus 1, right? So 2 power 2 means 4 minus 1 is equals to 3. See, if I just normally count, 1 plus 2 is equals to 3. So I can generalize. So even for 5 is if I take n is equals to 5 value, it will be like this. So let's see. If I call the first for n is equals to 5, if I substitute n is equals to 5, that will call a 4 and 3. And the fib of 4 again call the 3 and 2. And fib of 3 here again call 2 and 1. So that is what is, that is this like this will continue up to the 2 power, up to the 2 power n minus 1 times. If I add these terms and again will get the sum of GP series and I will get 2 power 5 minus 1. So in general, we can consider it as for n is equals to 2, I will get 2 power 2 minus 1. For n is equals to 5, I will get 2 power 5 minus 1. So for n is equals to n, I can take it as 2 power n minus 1, right? 2 power n minus 1. So these many times my function is going to call for n is equals to for n. So and the time complexity of one function is the 5. If I multiply them, 5 into, I will get 5 into 2 power n minus 1, right? So I can neglect this minus 1 because this is the constant. I can also neglect this constant coefficient. So I can write my big O as the time complexity of this algorithm as 2 power n. So the time complexity of the Fibonacci series, if I write in recursive, that will take big O of 2 power n. Yeah, these are what some examples. Yeah. So this is how the we calculate the time complexity of the algorithm. And yeah, that is what we have learned today. I hope you all understood the topic, and thank you for attending.
Okay, that was great, Srija. So guys, just like a summary of what happened. So time complexity analysis is a very important tool, like for any computer scientist. Uh, so the most basic thing that we're doing here is we're trying to count the number of steps that an algorithm will take. So, but the problem is that the number of steps that we count will take different types on different machines, right? So, what we do is instead of giving the exact count, uh, we give an we give an estimate, which is not exact, but the estimate is such that it grows like it doesn't. It is independent of the kind of computer that you have. So it may be a slow computer, it may be a fast computer. It doesn't matter. It is independent of hardware. The algorithm's time is given as a scale in the sense it grows proportionally or decreases proportionally to something. So when we say that linear search takes big O of n time, what we are saying is the upper bound of linear search, that is the maximum amount of time that linear search can take, is big O of n. That means if there are n elements in an array, then at max it will go through n items and the time will be proportional to those n items. If there are 100 items, then let's say the time is k. If there are 10,000 items, because 10,000 is 100 times more than 100, the time also will be 100 times more, no matter which computer you choose. And one important thing to be noted is big O notation does not mean worst case, and omega notation does not mean best case. It is just a way of giving upper bounds and lower bounds. So uh, like I don't want to confuse you all, but if when I say linear search is big O of n, I can also say that linear search is big O of n square. It is big O of n cube, big O of 2 power n, and so on. I can give any function that is larger than or equal to n. It doesn't matter because I'm just giving an upper bound. Upper bound can be larger or equal to, but omega notation has to be the equal has to be the same. So if linear search takes n time, then the time complexity in terms of omega notation will be omega of n. And similarly for I'm sorry, uh, I was talking about theta notation. So if linear search takes n time, then theta notation says that it will take theta of n time. You cannot say theta of n square. But for omega, you can omega gives the lower bound, right? So that means it will take at least this much amount of time. So if I say linear search takes omega of 1 time, what that means is linear search will at least take one unit of time. And I can also say omega of log n for linear search, because log n is less than n, which is the actual time. I can still say omega of n, I mean log n. But okay, keep that aside. What is important is time complexity is a measure of the algorithms growth of time, like how the time changes with respect to the size of input that we give it. So if you remember the last example here, Fibonacci series that Srija gave, it takes big of 2 power n time, right? So it is exponential. That means it's very bad. So exponential algorithms are not good. So we are supposed to find better algorithms for such problems. So for example, Fibonacci series has a better algorithm which uses dynamic programming, and also there's a direct way of doing Fibonacci series, but this particular case, this particular algorithm takes 2 power n, so it's not very efficient. So yeah, uh, those are the key points that you might want to remember. uh, okay guys, thanks for coming. Session was good. And next session will be next Saturday, and we'll be discussing more and more algorithms in the upcoming sessions. So stay tuned for these sessions and see you next time. Bye guys.